You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Well, welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Abdalla Albeely.
How you doing, sir?
So, Abdalla, tell me a little bit about yourself and what do you do professionally?
My area of research is molecular neuroscience. We most of the times we study neuropsychiatric disorders. We study schizophrenia, for instance, or sometimes Alzheimer's, depending on the research running in the lab. It's very interesting because it gives you a chance to work with things that touches us in life closely. So it's very motivational.
So, when it comes to molecular neuroscience, so we're talking about things that happen to do with like mental health disorders and also brain disorders as well, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, this is a
Y-
field I'm very, very fascinated in. So I have a lot of
mhm,
questions, mostly because as we're seeing, the brain is just so fascinating to me. I took a bunch of psychology classes in school, just
Yeah.
because when you start looking at how differently people start to think and how people's brains developed at faster rates, and like, especially stuff with like anxiety and mental health disorders now becoming more prevalent in younger
Mm.
children, all on the basis of technology. It seems like it's definitely a benefit to have these devices in our pockets and these options at hand, but it's not very healthy for the human brain.
It's a that's a general statement. I can't really say it is correct, but to some extent, it is contributing to that. I agree with you. Yes, and the problem with like personal experience, the problem with it is we tend to create a reality that is mainly confined to our personal devices, whether it's your iPhone, iPad, or computer. And most of the times, when you don't get those motivation burst of dopamine rushing into your brain, that's when you feel like the depressive side of it. You feel that you're not motivated. You're always feeling down, feeling upset, feeling sad, feeling disconnected, essentially.
I f-
Um,
I feel like with most like what we get through social media and these types of things are what we can call harmful interactions, only because I think a lot of the time it's the way we accidentally set ourselves up for judgment. When I say that, I mean by we follow people that live unrealistic, I guess, lives, or they always are posting things about a bunch of money and stuff that is kind of very, very hard to obtain. So it creates this kind of mental affliction that affects us in a depressive state.
yes, and the basic of it is we often tend to compare what we have to other people. So when we see someone, for instance, posting or making a comment or having living this lavish life, and then we end up looking at what we have in our hands, we tend to belittle what we have rather than cherish it, and that's what creates your depressed mental being state. I always think about social media, whether it's your WhatsApp, whether it's your Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, you can. The benefit of it, of the good side about it, is that you can tailor it to what you want to see on your newsfeed. So you could choose to have something that is absolutely motivational, absolutely driving you forward, or you could choose to have something that would often put you in that downside mental state. And the danger behind it is that most of the time we get drifted without realizing what we're actually aiming for. We tend to follow celebrities, or follow some pages that constantly keeps putting us back into that negative state.
Especially if you follow like people like Tom Cruise, you follow famous actors and stuff. If they're not doing anything but showing you what their life is like, then you start to get this bit of jealousy that's kind of encoded into our DNA. Even though people are like, "Oh, that's just your personality; it's how you act." There is a primal thing about us inside of our brains where we constantly judge. It might not be as powerful with somebody than it is with somebody else, like such as like the person that just walks down the street just like, oh, you got that, I got this, you got this, you got that. And then there's the person that does it quietly. But all people judge each other on the basis of their analyzing things. They're checking things out, whether it's comparing what you have to what someone doesn't have, or whether it's just checking at someone's clothes. It's simple things like this these judge, because we think a lot with our eyes and a lot of our senses. When it comes to social media, following people that are very, very giving or charity oriented creates a more positive outlook and can spark that interest inside of your brain. But when you were saying earlier about like when we're mindlessly scrolling on our phones, which half the time you don't remember shit of what you're scrolling through anyway, you're just literally like you're doing it like, yeah, it's like you're sitting there, you're like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just looking through Instagram. Oh, you see anything cool? Oh, I don't know. Because you're literally just going up and down. It's like a little hardwired thing in your brain, just like just let it go, kills time or something. You are technically picking up all those negative impacts into your brain, but you're not realizing it.
Yeah. So this is so it almost becomes like a habit. So if you think about what a habit is, it's a set of behaviors that you do on a daily basis and you repeat, and that forms your habit. The danger behind that is your habit can essentially influence or create your personal being or reality. And with the habit that is currently happening of you scrolling through your Instagram feeds or Facebook feed, is that you're not paying attention to everything that is in there, but it encodes everything that you see in your subconscious mind, and you start thinking from that basic, and that's where the danger of it is coming essentially, is that without you realizing,
Well, it
you're
also
putting it.
starts to create desensitization with people. We start to
Yeah.
not give a shit about anybody else's feelings. Like I think
Yes.
deep down inside of all of human nature, we have this primal thing to care about one another. But the only time you ever see it now, like it to care about a random person on the street or to totally knock down the barriers of race or anything, is when there's like a serious accident or terroristic attack. At, for example, like when 9/11 happened or something, everyone dropped their shit and was like, we need to get over this. We all need to come together.
Yeah, and it's actually it's very interesting that you're mentioning that, and I personally I grew up in Africa, in a third world country. So growing up, um, we didn't really have the luxury of internet or even cell phones or anything like that. And with that limitation, that lack of instruments or equipment
Or awareness, yeah.
or awareness, and what you come to develop is social awareness, compassion, care for each other. So the low levels of depression or anxiety or mental health disorders that I have seen or have witnessed there was, you could say that it's correlated with the strong social structure that was present at that moment in that place. And in order for you to survive in such an environment, you always had to care for others, because you know that essentially the principle of you scratch my back, I scratch yours, it prevails. So if I help you today, tomorrow I don't have anything, tomorrow you will help me. And this, in a sense, it gets you to think about life rather than comparative way into a supportive way. Instead of looking at you, you have this, I don't have this. No, you have this, you will help me,
Oh.
or I'm happy for you. See
Yeah,
what I mean?
we have this society. I think it's an adopted mindset we have. I wonder what would happen if we never had phones in the first place, if we never had Instagram apps or any of these things. I wonder what world we'd be living in. You know, it's like that thing always someone tosses out. What happens if JFK never was assassinated? It's like we'd live in a completely different timeline. Like
Yeah,
mental
absolutely.
health would not be so impactful. See, when I say we have an adopted mindset, is because we live in this world now where it seems like the only time anybody ever wants to help anybody is if they can get something out of it.
it- it's materialistic world at its base, so you can't really demolish that fact. The one thing I always think about is, it's not wrong to think that way. It's okay, it's correct. But what's wrong is to think about it in a negative way. So if you can never help me, I will never be willing to help you or look at you, or I will always look at you in a jealous way, because that state of mind, that's what creates the distance between humans. It's what makes us feel that We are completely disconnected from the other person. Um, if you think about how society lived, let's say 100 years ago, not too far long, not too far ago, but 100 years ago, none of these equipments existed. People still had the feeling of jealousy, but it was more of the demand of nature demanded them to be much closer. So you'd still look at others and be like, oh, they have something nice, I don't have it. But nature forces you to be close to them. So it eliminates the look, the jealousy look, or I shouldn't say eliminate it, but it reduces it, because without it, then you could survive longer. You could rely on your peers, and you could rely on your society in general. And that's the and but on the plus side, on the positive side of having those devices right now, is that you have the chance to filter and feed your brain with whatever that satisfies you, and you could be very picky and very important. If you think about your house, for instance, if we live in a house, you're very selective of who you want to invite to come into your house. And your house is something, and the reason for it is because you have so many things in the house. You don't want people to mess up your house. You don't want intruders just to walk in and out. And likewise for your brain is the most important part of your body, right?
But we
So you have
let
to
we let
filter.
we let so many bad influences into our brain. I don't think people look at the same, like that's a beautiful example, because people don't look at their house or their brain in the same way. When you let people inside of your head, you're letting people into your home. You're letting into the place where only you should be, really, and very people that are close to you, close to your heart. But when it comes to so many things that go on, such as like when you invite a bunch of people into your house, okay, these people, you created a personal interaction with them, you have a care for them. That personal interaction nowadays gets lost because when we say connectivity through how technology has put us all together, it's lost the personal interaction. Sending a text message isn't the same as saying it to somebody's face. Saying something on a screen is not saying it to somebody's face. There's no really ramifications. And it's really hard. Like I always bring up, like with auto texting, people that use voice texting or something. Yes, it is faster, but it loses the interperson, or I guess the personal connection with the person you're trying to talk to. Such as, like, if someone that you love message you saying I love you and all this, instead of just reading it, be like, okay, I love you too back. If you heard them say it to you, it would mean a lot more and hit a lot harder and resonate more inside of your brain than it would if you just got it from a text.
That is right. That is absolutely correct. And there's right now, with the fast lifestyle, many people rely on that. Many people just rely on the message, or even the voice message. It's like, hey, I love you, or hey, I'm doing this or that. And less and less we rely on the personal communication. And it's really not. It's If we think about us as humans, we're very social beings. So we slowly we're eliminating the fact that we are socializing, or we should be socializing or interacting with other people.
I'm gonna
um
try and relate that to an example to see if I'm right here. But like, there's a game called Sims. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. There's like it's like a family type game. You get to create your own household and stuff. Well, if you create a house by yourself and try and do a bunch of things by yourself, and like for me, I made a Sim character, didn't go outside, didn't go do anything, just went to work, back. No social interaction. All the skills on the side. There's a toilet skill. There's a shower skill. There's an eating skill. There's a sleep skill. Then there's the social skill where you have to have social interaction. And as you see, that skill drains slower than all the rest. But once it hits down to the bottom, your sim gets severely depressed and starts to basically die. And
yeah,
that's a real thing. If
that's
you can live a life of isolation. I excluded myself from a lot of social communication only because when
mhm,
I got out of high school, it was it. I didn't need to talk to anybody. My close friends were my close friends. But after a while, like, it's just like when you get out of high school, you don't see your friends every single day. Next thing you know, it's been a couple years later. I felt like I was stuck in this routine, and I'm like, what the fuck's happening? And I realized you can be a hermit for so long, but if you don't ever get that social interaction. When I finally talked to someone and went to a party, felt like someone hugged my soul. I was like, holy shit, like this feels so good. What is this? And that's called interaction.
yes. So, and it's quite important for us as human beings to interact with others. And psychologists say that to have for a human being to have a happy day, you need a minimum of 4 hugs a day. Now, in the current society that we live in, how many hugs a day do you get? You would be happy if you get 1 hug a day. from someone. You know what I mean? We're slowly drifting away from that aspect. And then the other thing you want to think about too, think about a child that is 6 months old that needs to learn everything about our life, needs to fit in the society the same way that we are operating. How can they learn that? There's no way to teach a child. There's no way to sit a child in a classroom to teach them how to eat, how to behave, what to do when they wake up, what to do, how to drink water, how to go to the washroom, etc., etc. The only way for them to learn that is through observation. Observation to what? Observation to other human beings that they encounter. And this in itself, it just lays the ground for us that as human beings, when the moment that we're born, we rely on other human beings around us to learn the principle behind life. And if you take that principle away from the human being, as you said, the perfect example in the same game, your character starts depleting and depleting and depleting. So you can never live in isolation. Yes, you might actually survive in isolation, but with that isolation comes other mental health disorders and issues and problems that you are not prepared for, because your body, your brain is not created for you to become isolated. It's created for you to become socialized. You know
Now,
what I mean?
what's fascinating about the human brain is that example you just gave. I'm going to kind of relate it to this one and see if I'm right. Just making sure I'm getting everything that you're saying. When it comes to, you ever seen the movie Clash of the Titans or Wrath of the Titans with the Greek gods and everything?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know how Zeus and all the main ones, they fed off the love of the other ones. That was
Of
that
the other ones.
factor. But then Hades, the one that survived off the fear, the stuff that gave him power, but it wasn't as powerful as the love. But he learned to feed off of it and survive off that. That's what we're doing. We're surviving off this social interaction rather than getting the thing we actually need, like a hug, like those things. Like when you go to the store, if you just took the time, and I know most people don't want to, but to actually hug somebody, you ever feel like they're, if you go to like just, give them that, like that handshake where you bring them in and you pat them on the back or do whatever you got to do, it feels like they want to be in there for a lot longer.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember one of the first time that this specific fact hit me. I was at a conference actually, and the conference, the topic was a little bit sensitive, and a colleague of mine was sitting next to me, and then my colleague started crying, and then I just hugged them, and I said, "That's okay, everything will be fine." And then the colleague started crying even more, and the reason for that, they were saying that this is the first time that someone actually hugged them,
Ooh.
and it felt so good for them. And to me, the reality hit me at that moment that we as a society, we're becoming like more and more disconnected, that we don't even share our emotion, or we don't allow our emotions to be.
See, what I've said before is I think that social media, where people are like, we're more connected than ever, I think it's called false connectivity. It seems like we're not truly getting the interaction and the stimulus that our brain really deserves. It's like artificial. So, like when you put up a Facebook post or something, Facebook is nothing but people complaining about something. So when you go onto Facebook and you see, oh, this happened and my life sucks or something, then they get 3 likes. Then the next time, like the next day, they'll post up again. They'll get 4 likes, 5 likes, 6 likes. Then after a week, they post again. They get 1 like. They take the post down because they're not receiving that stimulus anymore. That stimulus is the same thing that you would receive if you just talked to someone who was truly connected into your life. If you sat down with a family member, if you sat down with a friend and just had a chat with them and a real conversation where you felt like everything you were actually saying is actually getting fed into them, you know? I think with mental health and where it's going at with younger and younger ages is their reliance into the device, because this is what they're truly captivated in. They need to know what it is because it's around them. A lot of the older people don't understand what that was like. You know what I mean? They didn't have that option back then.
There's yeah,
And when it comes to that, is isolating them from their own family. A kid or a mom, I understand if they're busy and all this stuff, it's easy to give the kid a tablet so he shuts up. But also, if a kid's going through a severe problem, when they come home, if they got bullied at school, who's the one person they want to cry to?
you would want to cry to your parents.
Exactly. You want
Yeah,
that hug. You want them to tell you everything's going to be okay and the world's not as bad. But it seems like we're being so disconnected now. Like somebody comes home, starts crying. You're looking for that, help me, like tell me it's going to be okay. And everyone's just like, that's the world. It fucking sucks. It's like, why? Why did we're turning it for the worse?
That is actually, this is very true, very true. One of the most difficult aspect for me when I first moved to North America was lack of social support in that way. So I remember growing up back in Africa. When something like this happened, you don't only get the support from your family, but you also get the same support, the same type of support from your neighbors. And it looks like it's also justified if we look at things from a different perspective. And by that I mean, in third world countries, as I said, the social structure of the entire community could be relying on one or two people working, providing for the one family or two families or three families, for instance. So those three families collaborate together to have a very strong social aspect. Versus here in North America, you have every individual is capable of feeding their own selves, right? And so you lack that strong connected connected ties. So, but one of the things that hit me as I came when I first came here was, oftentimes you come back from home, or come back from work to home, or come back from school to home, and you just need that person to be like by your side and tell you that, okay, everything is going to be all right, that can hug you and assure you that life is beautiful. But in reality, that there's no one there to give you that support. And even people sometimes in the same house with you, they tend to look at you, as you said, they tell you that this is life, you got to get through it. Yeah, I will get through it, definitely, but how I will get through it will define my next move or my future. So if I get through it through compassion, through support, and love, then I can actually, I'm capable of doing the same thing for someone else that goes through the same thing again in the future. If I lack that, it's no longer there. And it's something that our society completely is neglecting right now, and we're just drifting behind the fast lifestyle of work, 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 focus more, and then get your reward from your device, get the feeling, that dopamine rush in your brain from your device, whether it's through your Instagram, Facebook, or whichever app that you're using, if that makes sense.
It does. See, what happened was I broke my phone a few weeks, not even a few weeks back, a few months back, and I didn't have it for like 3 days. I started realizing in the morning the first thing I was trying to do was check my phone. I realized that's a problem. So now when I go into the grocery store, I leave my phone in the car. I'll miss a couple calls, I'll miss a couple texts, whatever. I'll get to it later. But when I go inside the store, I look at so many people that are just wandering around with headphones in and completely just oblivious of others, people that are looking down on their phone, not communicating or not even talking. How many times do you choose self checkout? I do it myself. I choose self checkout because dealing with someone's just a little bit too much. It's out of the way. We're trying to be very, very independent people, but we're a dependent society. We rely on others. This one's just a little bit less of reliability when it comes to people. Um, it makes sense. I understand I'm a pretty independent person. I don't really rely on a whole bunch of people. But when it comes to the factor, there are some cases where I do need someone to talk to. I do need someone to, have a chat with. I can't just be totally completely isolated. When I started taking psychology classes, what really fascinated me was learning about environmental influences and all these types of things that we adapt from around us that choose to kind of craft out our decision making in turns in a way. When I start seeing people freak out in a store, I start looking at them like, what is going on in their own life, rather than telling them to go fuck off or something if they're yelling at me. And when I started analyzing that more, like it happened once inside of a store, this dude was yelling at a woman in a 12 item or less aisle for having like 15 items or something. He starts freaking out. I'm looking at him like, this asshole. But then in my head, I'm thinking, what's going on in his life right now? So I only had one item. I pay for it. And as I'm walking out of the store, he's right in front of me. He goes out to his car and I notice there's a spare tire on his car. I'm like, oh, he probably just had a spare tire incident. He probably had a tire blowout, had to get a spare on there. Now he's probably dealing with that in his head. We're becoming overwhelmed as people. What we don't realize is the problems and all these types of things that we get on a daily basis, such as like, oh, they didn't have your favorite drink in the machine, all that type of stuff. That is what I call a stress fracture. Your mind is like a glass window pane. And literally, you're just getting little tiny cracks in that window all day long. And when you don't come home and you don't address it, you don't take a second to go, or do anything like that. You're just letting it boil up. Then you go to sleep and you're coming out with the same window every single time. So then when something does happen, you freak out. You become overwhelmed. You don't know how to handle it to the point where you're like, I don't know what to do. And you just start going all over the place when you just need to take a second and think.
That's absolutely correct. And the best thing to say about it is whenever something bad happened to us in our life, could be a tire blown up, could be you lost a loved one, you gone through some massive failure in your life. You really need to have that moment to think and reflect. Without you going through the grief period, the period of like thinking and figuring out what had gone wrong, you will never be able to learn and improve it in the future. So taking a moment to think and cry or grieve about something is actually a good thing. What's bad thing is how long you allow it to last. So many people are afraid. Many people that they go through this process, they mask their feeling because they're afraid that the refractory period can be elongated or might be elongated for longer than it should be. But to avoid that, they just mask those feelings completely, and that's not helpful because the next time you go through it, you still won't know how to behave or how to react to it. You still mask your feelings, and essentially you get to the point where you blow up, as you said. You just freak out. You have a panic attack. Your body will give up on you.
See, when it comes to the panic attacks too, it's all commonly linked with like where we're seeing anxiety a little bit. What what the weirdest thing with anxiety is, a really good way to get over it mentally is by creating something which people could correlate kind of to as OCD. Such as like doing a certain routine or doing a certain like flicking a light switch off twice, or doing something over and over and over again, because it creates like, like when people are getting on an airplane, oh, before the airplane crashes, I have to take off my shoes, spin around 3 times, put my shoes back on, and then it'll be a safe trip. We build up these things into our head, maybe not as severe as that, maybe a little bit minor things like, oh, I have to, double click my pen 2 times or do something like that. When we start doing that, it's ways for our brain to clear out the anxiety a little bit. Like, oh, if I go to school, before I go to school, if I just spin around 2 times, or lock the door twice, and do that whole thing, you'll be able to go out into the world and it's going to be okay. We develop these little like I forgot what the word is, superstitions. And
Yeah,
you get to see that happen more and more and more. I start to notice people are doing things over and over and over again. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, I have to do this before I get started. I'm like, oh, okay. You start to notice that people are, we're walking around wounded. Our
mm,
mind is wounded all the time, and we're not paying
yes,
attention to it. And we're creating these things that are just pushing away the wound. We're putting a band-aid on top of it rather than focusing in on what the actual problem is. A lot of people start going, oh, you're just mentally, you're just crazy, you're just crazy. It's like, no, they're not crazy. They found something that makes them feel safe and comfortable to where they can actually function. They adopted this thing because they're hurt. You need to pay attention to that.
that is right. And then those superstitions, as you call them, they all became part of their daily habits, and that's what they adopted to create their personal reality, or to make sure that the personal reality will follow the same rhythm that it had gone through yesterday and the day before and the months before. But what we are missing, as you said, what we are missing here is the key signal. If someone is repeatedly doing the same thing in a different pattern, it might be a signal that let's sit down and chat. Like, let's figure out what is hurting you. Why do you have to go through this alone? We're all here to mainly support each other, whether it's through compassion, whether supports love, or support each other through anything, any way that you could support your friend or even a stranger. It can take them a step further in their journey. And this is one of the things that I often emphasize on with my friends, that as you get to select as a human being, you get to select your close circle, and this closed circle has to be completely defined by people who can build you and support you further. So, and in many cases, you will see many people feeling happy for you when you are successful and life is green, and everything is going right for you. But the moment that things start breaking down, you will see that circle breaks down slowly, slowly. you will start losing people from around you. And that's why you have to be extremely selective of who you want to surround yourself with. You
Negative
want
influences such as like people that are always constantly complaining or making judgments on others can cause toxicity into your own life as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then that's why you need to eliminate, make sure that you know these people and you eliminate them completely out of your equation. Because when you are down and where you're feeling you need the love and you feel you need some attention, you won't find them there. They would just be completely gone, disappeared.
Now, see, so when I started doing this podcast, I talk to people from all over, no matter what you have or no matter what you're doing. It's just conversation. But even with the people I have conversations with, you can tell which people I can vibe with and which people I don't vibe with. You know what I mean? Where it might last shorter, it might last longer. It's what I try and tell people is like it's not about trying to connect to everyone. It's about finding connectivity, but don't deny an interaction. If you need to come across that interaction, it doesn't need to turn into an argument. You let it turn into an argument. No conversation should ever turn into an argument. It's just two people that don't come to the same conclusion. Okay. So I stay open minded as possible. That means if someone's telling me, like, their whole family's aliens and they're going off on some things, does that mean I'm going to believe it? No, but I'm not going to deny their train of thinking, whatever got them there. When I have a conversation with someone, I know people that who I would associate with from all the interactions I've had and from the interactions that have gone like where I really enjoyed them or I felt like I was just getting bored the whole time. It's not about that. It's about like you're saying with isolating and kind of cutting out those bad toxicity type things. There are people out there. You're not going to vibe with everybody on this earth. It's just not going to happen. Even if you're locked inside of your house with your family for a week or something, somebody's reaching for a butter knife. We can't be around each other 24/7. We're meant to be a little bit alone as well. But that isolation factor has become the dominant now. In today's world, being alone is considered safe. It's considered comfortable. It's considered the main option rather than before where you used to sit down and watch TV with your family, go to a party, go hang out with your friends. We're seeing podcasting take that over a little bit. People who are friends who aren't really close to their friends as much as they used to be are starting to do a podcast together. Next thing you know, they have this reliance. They feel like there's a listener or someone out there that requires them to get together and make content. Then they end up hanging out together like, why did I never want to leave the house? It's like, why did I ever have that thought? This is so much fun. I can't believe I wanted to bail on this. It's because you need that kick to get you out the door because everything you receive in your everyday life just creates so much stress because you're not handling it well. So you just want to come home, shut the door, go upstairs, put on some sweatpants and watch Netflix.
Yes, that's one of the things. So most of the time, to some extent, most of the times, what we're afraid of, the reason why we tend to start to stick to something that we know is we're afraid of the unknown. When we are when we decide to be isolated, when we decide we're sad but we don't want to be comforted by someone, we don't want to be interacting with other human beings, is because the sadness itself is a familiar act to us, and our body and mind has accustomed itself to it. What we are not accustomed to it is another person or uh, another person coming to comfort us, to take us out of that feeling. Why? Because we don't know what's out of that feeling, and this is the fear factor that traps us all in this cycle. And for us, it to be able to kind of think to be able to think greater than how we are operating in general, that's what can take us the next step further. So it's okay to feel sad, it's okay to feel upset or feel the need to be alone. You could take your time to be alone, but at some point, at some moment, you have to come to a realization that I got to put myself out there. I have to interact with other human beings because they might be something much better to us than just being sad, than just being alone, than just being isolated. It life in itself is a moderation. As you said, we need the alone time. We as humans, we always need the alone time. One of the best things I like to do myself personally is take some time alone and just reflect on how my day went from the moment I get up to the moment that I go to bed. I have specific time of the day. I just sit down, reflect. How did I do today? And that is fine. You can make it an hour. You can make it 2 hours, however long you need it. But you have to come to realization that out of that time, I must gain new experiences, gain new visions, gain new uh, exercises or whatever by interacting with other people or just putting myself out there
Now you
as
come
human.
Well,
Yeah,
you come from a more a scientific background than me. So if I get anything, all my stuff comes from observation. So if I get anything wrong, if I'm hinting at anything wrong, please, for the love of God, correct me. Just what from I've adopted through watching and through kind of living my own life and kind of observing all these things. Being quiet and watching everything around me, all these influences. People always say you talk to so many people, you must love them. You must love people. And I tell them, I fucking hate people. And they're like, wait, how do you do that if you just podcast with everybody? I was like, I hate the people that we go and we see in the store, the fake personalities. What we say, we live in a two-faced society because everybody's walking around with a mask. Everybody's walking around with armor up. Everybody's walking around displaying someone who they are truly not. Where you cannot do that is in an hour, 2 hour conversation that I do. I get the real you. I get because you can play a character for a good 20 minutes, but you can't keep it up the whole time. I want to know you. I want to know the person that I want to talk to. That's the person I like. That's the person I want to get to know. The one I want to know the real you if I want to hang out with you more and more and more. It's like when you meet someone that's wearing a Ravens jersey or a sports jersey and you go up to them like, "How about them Ravens?" or "How about that whatever sports team?" Then every time you meet them, you just talk about fucking sports.
that's what you click with, right? You always find what you click with them, and then you but uh, it is true. I can agree with you that in the fact that a 2 minute interaction or communication with someone doesn't truly reveal anything about them. They can mask their feelings, they can mask who they are, and you will never get to know that person well at all because you'll just get snippets of who they are. But a longer conversation time and repetitive and repeated interactions with a person can reveal their true identity. And that's as as we live life, we tend to evolve, we tend to change. Life changes people, and that's the other aspect, that you should never be afraid if you see a friend, if you see your path or your track is slightly drifting or going away from your circle or your close friend. It's okay to take a moment and acknowledge it and just identify it and be like, look, I'm no longer interested in the same things that we're interested at. I look at things from a different perspective, and that's just life. Life takes you that way. But at the end, you have to be able to find the real person that you could click with, the real people, the close circle. As we tend to learn things in life through observation, and if you think about why were we created with two eyes, two ears, and one mouth, is because our input method, whether it's through vision, to your ears, has to be much greater than our output, your mouth. And the reason for it is that's the main way for you to grow as a human. So you get to listen here, or even see things, take them, digest them, evolve, and then you get to react to things. And that's the main principle. So it's not wrong to receive more than to give it in those incidents. It's essentially, the more you receive, the more you learn, and then your output becomes much more beneficial. And
And we start to create a negative output when we start surrounding our input with just negative things around us. That 2 minute interaction that we're talking about, that to truly tell if someone, I guess, if you can't really tell in 2 minutes, but what those people, that 2 minute interaction, I've met people like that. I call them a wet towel personality, because when you go around them, all they do is like, I guess so. Well, life is just terrible, and they feel like they're draining you. They're taking your energy. Those people just have experienced a lot of bad too. You were talking about before, like such as like that sadness, that anger, they live in it or something. That's why those
yes,
people are
yes,
like
that's
that,
that's
because
that's the key.
it feels like their whole everything's been taken away. Every step of whatever the thing is, it feels like everything's given them a punch in the face or kick to the groin. And it's like they got that way because of all those influences, and they didn't have anybody to pull them out. They couldn't pull themselves out, so now they're stuck.
Yes, one of the greatest things that greatest greatest strategy that I use personally, and that it kind of helps me to keep me always in a good mood, is it doesn't matter what you're going through in life. There's someone going through much worse than you. And by that, I don't mean that you often belittle the problems that you're going through. No, no, no. It means that acknowledge that what you're going through is a really hard problem or issue that you're facing. But it doesn't mean that it's not solvable, because other people can solve it and other people have been through it and other people are currently going through a much harsher problems or realities than you. And it just motivates you to always look at that bright side at the end of the tunnel. And the problem when you interact with people that have negative energy is they just lack the ability to see far enough to see that, you know what, there's much more in life than what we're currently going through. And the sad reality or the sad truth behind it is you can never convince someone that to look that way. Unless they are willing to see things from that perspective, you can never go and correct it. It's just not possible. You can guide them, you can give them the tools, you can tell them, you can lecture them for hours or days or months, but at the end of the day, if there's no willingness from inside them to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's just the vision will never be there. And that's why I my principle and my model is try to influence people close to you. Absolutely, 100%. Always spread good vibes, always be positive, but don't try to force it on others. The moment you force it, it can go on the extreme end, because it's just not how everyone perceives things and not how everyone would be willing to open to change.
Yeah, and
And
you can tell by how people drive off a little bit too, because like if you have a conversation with someone and you start, like if you send them a text or something instead of doing an actual interaction, if you send them a text saying like, "Hey, yeah, I'm already ahead of you," then they can take that as two different things. They can take that like, "Oh, okay, cool, you're doing it," or they can take it as, "Well, no need to get snappy, no need to get this, no need to get that," and you realize, oh, that's their interaction through their life. They've received, snippy comments a lot, so that's how they derive that. We do this thing now when we do auto texting and all these types of things. The problem is our phone does not sense emotion. It doesn't. So
you
when you
hit
say,
you hit the point here.
yeah, when you say let's go to the store, your phone's gonna be like, let's go to the store. You send that text, next thing you see, it's like, let's go to the store. Are you yelling at me? Are you yelling at me right now? Is that what you're doing? It's like, no, I just said let's go to the store.
Absolutely, absolutely. You absolutely hit the point right there, and that's why most of the times, if communications, even though you might be correct in the message that you've written, but the tone by which the other person perceive it, not necessarily the tone that you send it with, but the tone that they perceive it with, could create a negative mindset in them.
Well, we make this
Eh,
thing now where we just God, I forgot what that word is just called. We assume things. We assume that you're talking like that. We assume that you're doing this. We assume that you're doing that. You don't know if the person's on the phone taking a shit or something, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, call you back." It's like, "What? Call me back? What? You just not want to talk to me or something?" It's like, "No, I'm in the middle of something. I have something that needs to get done." That's why I don't really like texts. I don't like any of that stuff. Call me, see me, do something where you have to interact with me so I can tell what you're feeling at that moment. When we lose that emotional or that tone of voice that you have in a conversation, you can't tell if the person's truly given two shits about you or they're angry about you.
that is 100% right, and I feel that you see this more clearly in any with two friends, two close friends. Okay, I'm going to give you an example that happened personally to me. A friend of mine that messaged me and went like, "Hey, let's meet up." And every time I sent a message, my message would always be end up with an exclamation mark. And then this friend essentially was like, "I honestly, the first time I spoke to you, I thought for a long period of time that you're always mad at my messages." And then realized, well, what I send, it doesn't matter how I send it, it doesn't matter what I send, it's just it doesn't have emotions in it, it doesn't have the feeling that I want to convey on that message. And in a sense, I'm like, we use we are becoming the robots, becoming um we are becoming senseless or emotionless using messages, you need that personal interaction to show the other how do you truly feel about um, a certain thing that you're talking about, rather than just sending messages and be like, okay, we're good with messages, we understand each other with messages. No, no, no. Like, you need to take a moment, sit down, take your phone, put your phone away, and sit down face to face and chat and have a conversation.
It's a
in
it's a form of laziness when we start texting our emotions and not truly interacting anymore as well. And now we made it so lazy to the point we use emojis. You know, that's how you
yeah.
tell what people mean now. That's like basically the kids' hieroglyphics. You know, you send an emoji of a crying face, they know you're upset or something. But it's like, where's that interaction? Are you really upset as that emoji shows? Are you at that point where you know you need someone to hug? Or are you just like going through something and you're like, I just need to talk to somebody?
Yeah. How many times one of us would send a smiley face and they're not even smiling, or a
Yeah.
sad face and
Or
they're in
they
fact they're
send
smiling?
fucking LOL. You better be laughing
And
your ass off on the ground if you're sending me LOL.
yeah, it becomes just it became just words that we send without true feelings behind it or true emotions behind I feel like our society, again, this all goes back to the one fact that our society in general is right now is structured in a way that we're becoming more and more independent, although we are dependent human beings in general. And
Where
then
where do you think we're gonna go with all this though? I feel like it's just gonna keep getting worse and worse and worse. Like I people always talk about like video games cause violence, video games do this, that's why the kid shot up a store. I'm like, no, the kid shot up a store probably because he's been pushed to a point in his life where he feels like he's not able to be heard. See, what happens is when you start influencing a lot of suppression and you start letting that be the role model or the main example into somebody's life, suppression is a motherfucker, man. I hate to say it, but suppression is a motherfucker only because suppression creates oppression where people just want to feel like they have to break out. They have to do some dramatic act to get attention or just to be heard.
yes, and this is the thing. Like, where do we go from there? I don't know honestly. The best thing to go is to provide support groups, strengthen your social community, strengthen your household communities, and as you said, because the more oppressed you become, the bigger the amplitude of your reaction is, if that makes sense. So a kid goes out, carry a gun, goes to school and shoots his classmates, it is not a reflection of him or her playing a video game. It's a reflection of a bigger problem that the kid was not able to properly communicate that out and put the feeling out there and get rid of it rather. Or it can be the complete opposite. A kid committing a suicide, it's not because it's essentially because they lack attention, and the only way that they can get attention is if they do something big and everyone all of a sudden know about them, and that's what they're missing. They're missing the acknowledgement from society, from their family members, from their friends, from their community, and they lack it, then they go for it in a most extreme way. And I always believe in the fact that we are social. We are created to become social. The best way to do that, to go about this is to focus on that aspect, encourage social activities, encourage kids or teenagers to do things in the community, and encourage them to interact with each other. The simple act of kindness, the simple act of just a simple hug, a simple kiss, a simple touch, a simple gift can build in you and amplifies in you so many great things in life. And then in those great things, you could actually uh, nourish it and then feed it slowly, slowly until you kind of create a much more strong human being that is capable of spreading love to everyone
And
rather than
that makes more sense to my example I was saying before about the movie Clash of Titans. We want the love, but we've learned to survive off the hateful
of the
interaction.
hate. That's actually a very good example. Absolutely. I
Good,
absolutely agree
because
with you.
that just got all figured out as you were saying that. I really it was a dumb example from the beginning, but now it actually seems smart. Thank you. I appreciate
It actually does make much great sense. If you think about both emotions are both of them, they developed emotions, but it's a lasting, the long lasting effect that the love can give you that actually prevails, you know.
See, I always said, like, you ever just had a day where you would just come home and you just felt bland, like you were missing something out of your day, like nothing went super good and nothing went super bad. It felt like there was just
Just
nothing.
super neutral. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was
You know,
like, this is where
yeah,
reality television plays into effect. Like when Jersey
yeah,
Shore was really big, it seemed like a lot of people weren't facing a lot of internal problems. They weren't facing bad interactions on an everyday
yeah.
basis to the point where you would just come home and flip on reality television where it would give you that false stimulus. Like, oh shit, he's gonna stab him. He's gonna stab him. Oh yeah, yeah. Because you need that. You need that
You,
even if it's a bad interaction, I hate to say it, but it feeds something into your brain. But the problem is you get so much more love and a better feeling if you have a good interaction rather than a bad one. But we've learned to survive off the bad.
yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. You know, something similar. It's not in the same way, but something similar with bad interactions. You know, you can meet the most optimistic, happy, smiley human being on planet Earth, but I can guarantee you 100% there had many things had gone wrong in their day, week, months, or year, or life in general. So the question is not that or the point is not that they haven't gone through bad things. No, they have gone through so much bad things, so many bad things, definitely. But how they choose to react to it is what defines their personal reality. You see
Because
what I
they've
mean?
they've learned from being alone and not having someone to
Uh,
structure off of how to pull themselves out of that shit quake.
exactly. So I always I'm always fascinated by this one person I met, and I've never seen this person mad or upset, but we go through so many bad things and together, but somehow he often just maintains that smiley face, happy life, and happy attitude. And one time I just sat down with him and I was like, "Hey, so can you tell me a bit about like how do you handle pressure? How do you handle failure? How do you handle stress?" And the simplest way, and the most effective way that he used like simple. If things are going bad for me, I just go home, go to my room, close my room, open my Zumba um, lessons on my computer, and I start doing Zumba or doing yoga. Finding an outlet, finding a way to let that negative energy out is the most important thing. You
That's
cannot
hey,
trap that negative energy in you. It could be through being alone and doing things that you like to do alone. It could be
such
through
as writing or poetry or something. Because I feel like, well, I was really bullied through high school, for being like overweight and these types of things. Then my junior year, like towards the end of it, like, well, actually not the end of it, really in December, it's going to be 7 years coming up. But I've gone to the gym every single day and have not missed a day. I go on Christmas, I go on all that stuff. But
yeah.
when I work out, it was the biggest stress relief of my entire life and completely changed my way of thinking. I literally am not able to start my day without it. I need to have that stress relief when I grab that weight and feel all the problems get soaked in there. You know what I mean? Even if I have
I
a lot of stress received on a daily basis, I'll be like, I have to go work out. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I have to get this out. This is my outlet.
absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. One of the things that I love to do personally, all my friends know that I'm a big soccer fan. Soccer is my passion, but I also, because of the demand of my work, I can't play soccer as much. But I always tell my friend jokingly that I live my week for my soccer day. So I go through whatever stress, whatever pressure work that throws at me, I still absorb it. But the moment that I play soccer, that's where everything comes out. And it's important for us. So this takes us back to the point that we've asked earlier. Where can we go from there? If we see our society is always structured like that, it's simple. We teach. We can. It's a simple act that we can teach. We don't have to teach. We can tell or let those youngsters coming up know that there is something in you. There's something greater in you that you could actually figure it out at your deepest time moments and make it much, much, much greater. For instance, you used being bullied at the school for overweight, and that became your ultimate joy. That I go to the gym, I work out, I love working out, and that's what essentially drives your momentum forward. Likewise, another kid could be that they are shy, they're very they don't like to interact with people, but they love to sing. And then you could be like, okay, you could go back home whenever you feel sad, just take an hour or 2 hours, go to your room, sing, do whatever you want, or dance, or do something that you like to do. And that outlet, that way of giving them a chance to kind of learn that as much stress as you're going through, you can come and pour that stress or pressure into something, make it bigger and bigger and bigger. They will see the success. They will see the result of the piece that was small at some point but started growing. So every time you have a negative energy, you take that negative energy, put it on the other pile. The other pile becomes bigger and bigger, and then that's when you reach to the point that all those negative encounters or um, feelings or anything like that, to you it means nothing, because you know that I feel sad today, but right now, but I know that in 2 hours or a day or tomorrow I will go to the gym or I will go do this, and I will translate that negative energy into a positive energy that will build me.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, what they do is when they receive something as a negative interaction or something, the easiest option for them is to yell it out. You know, they scream at somebody else. It just projects it out to someone else. It takes the blame off your back. But I think there's a more positive way of doing that when we look for something with creativity. Now, people are going to listen to us saying about the gym or whatever, and they're going to be like, well, what if I don't want to work out? That's okay. Find your outlet. Find the thing that works for you. If it's playing a video game, if it's drawing a comic book, if it's reading a book, if it's writing something, you can get emotional. It's not bad to be emotional. There are times when I'm working out and I feel that, yeah, that anger, like someone light a match on the back of my head. Then when I get done, I'm as cool as a cucumber, man. But it's anything that can do that. This is why writers cry. This is why painters cry. This is why people let out emotion doing things that they find an expression in, because you're letting out that stress. You know, I tell people, like, people are like, you curse a lot. I'm like, yeah, I do, because I consider it a stress relief. When I
Y-
drop something or I do something, I'm like, shit. If I just said it like that, it doesn't mean I'm angry. It just means
mm,
it's like taking a deep little breath. It's like just
mm.
saying it. It's totally just something that is completely, you should, more people should curse, maybe not at somebody else, but just in the open. Just be like, oh shit, like forgot my keys.
it it's honestly, it's as you said, it's finding the outlet that makes you feel much more comfortable. And in my case, as I said, I love soccer, but other cases, for instance, I you could, if I'm going through a really really bad moment and I don't have a way to play soccer, I go on walks and listen to music or dance or something like that. It's knowing that there is an outlet for you to let those negative emotions out that makes you feel that life is beautiful. There is much more in life than just our current mode or our current feeling or current status.
And
And,
what's so
yeah.
fascinating about the brain is that the fact that even though we have this mindset right now, it's not saying to people out there listening that we think like this all the time. There are days we have our moments as well. You know, every night, every whatever you want to call them, every person that thinks with their head up in the clouds, tries to be the true optimist, has their down moments. But the thing is, you don't try and live in it. When you start living in it is when you truly let it take over you. And when you let it take over you, that's when it gets hard, and that's when it's truly, it seems like
So
there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
I agree with you. So I'm going to link it to you in a more scientific way, but a simpler way. So our brain has different brain regions. These brain regions are connected. They're connected wirelessly, if you want to call it, quote unquote. But the point is, the wires that connect our brains creates our emotional status or emotional feelings. Every time you are feeling the same feeling or going through the same feeling, you're further emphasizing or further strengthening those wires, right? So if you're going through sad emotions or sad feelings a period of time, and you decide to be on that sad status for a long period of time, those wires will become harder and harder, stronger and stronger. The moment that you start creating a new path, so like, oh, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling miserable, but you know what, let me go on a walk, or let me go play soccer, or let me go to the gym. Those new wires that you're building or creating, it's going to make you feel weird, it's going to make you feel uncomfortable, because it's something out of your comfort zone, right? And the problem with that is most of the times people just end up giving up to it, like, oh, I can't. Why? Because I don't know what happens. If I go there, I don't know. People might laugh at me at the gym. People might laugh at me playing soccer. People might laugh at my dance. But no, no, no. Don't worry about people. Worry about the new things that you're going to do that will make you feel happy. And the trick is, the more you do the new track, the more the more you follow your new habit that creates happiness to you, the harder those connections become, the weaker the other connections develop. So you start breaking old circuits in your brain that makes you feel um, disconnected, makes you feel sad, upset, anxious, whatever. And it strengthens new connection in your brain that makes you feel happy, joy, enthusiastic, excited about tomorrow, excited about today, excited about what's going to happen next, excited about seeing someone laughing at you, because deep down inside of you, you know that that's just their personal opinion about me. It doesn't really translate anything to what I feel.
Yeah,
And
and a lot
that's
of people and therapists, they call that future worrying when you start to grab a bunch of problems that haven't happened yet or start worrying about things that might not ever happen. You start to try and predict your own future, like, oh, if I don't do this, and this is going to happen, and then this is bill is going to come up, and then this is going to happen. I have to do this and that and this and that. You're literally harboring bad energy when you start doing that. You start creating this mindset that like literally makes you want to do nothing all the time.
essentially yes. And the I remember when I first started um, playing soccer as a kid, and I remember how I used to be the worst soccer player in my team. I i didn't care much, because my feeling at that moment was, I love doing this, I love playing soccer. I don't care if you laugh at me or not, I don't care if I'm good or not, I just love being there. And it but it got to the point that the more I did it, the better I became at it, the different view people looked at me with, and the more satisfied I got. The trick is someone's opinion about you should never be your own opinion about yourself. You see
You,
what I mean? So,
yeah, you could do
someone
something.
laughing,
Well,
you could do.
you can do something that is 100% like you're really super good at and never truly enjoy it. And you could do something that you truly enjoy 100% and you could be the worst at it, but you'll still always love doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I, in that case, I always say practice makes better. Practice makes better. So you pick up whatever you want to pick up. You could be anything, and then even if you're not good at it, but you're shy about someone else laughing at you, that's okay. Let them laugh. You I you made someone laugh. What's better than that? You know what I mean? Like, if
Exactly.
you made someone speak about something, or you were the highlight of someone's day. What's better than that?
It's funny because I'll say something in a podcast or something, and somebody on like that I know will listen to it, and they'll look at me and they'll be like, is this you that's actually saying this? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, because you're always joking around all the time. I don't ever see you having a serious conversation. I'm like, I choose to use humor in my everyday life, and I choose to use humor to help people soak in information because being serious and whatever you want to say, being intellectual when you start talking very sophisticated and using large words, whatever, blah, 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 it it starts to you start to lose it a little bit because I think life is always 100% better when you can look at it with a comedic side to it. When you can joke around at the bad times, when you can do all these types of things. I choose to, say something stupid because I've had someone say you're an idiot. And I'm like, "Oh, because of something I said." And then later they'll come to me the next day and be like, "I thought about what you said where I called you an idiot, and honestly, I was having a rough day and that made me laugh and like it totally cheered my day up." And I was like, I'm glad I could do that for you because I
You know,
think that's more needed nowadays. We need people to be less strict, less serious, and be more focused on the things that actually matter and having a good time because this life is not long to last. It's a short one.
it's a short one, so why do you live it in stress and fear, right? And I think I agree with you. Like, sometimes uh, I always look at things, those situations from I try. I shouldn't say always. I try to look at those situations from the other point of view. So when someone comes and projects to me and their negative idea or point of view, I don't know what they're going through, and this is something you stated earlier in the podcast, that everyone's interaction with you, this is an outcome of what they have been going through. And sometimes it's just reflected in a negative tone or a negative way. And the best thing to react to it is, you have the choice of either following the same path or following your own path that you committed yourself to, or you developed throughout the year. So when someone yells at you, or insults you, or do something to you, you could think about it like, oh, they're probably going through something bad. I will choose to smile at them or be nice to them or whatever. You choose to stick to that. Or you could be like, they yell at me, I'm gonna yell back at them again. And you just create the same negative cycle and keeps going and going. But as you said, life is too short. Life is extremely short. Like, if we think about our planet Earth's age, it's, and compare that to our age, it's just like we're nothing. We're this smallest rock. on this planet Earth, the smallest rock on our planet, its age, it's probably like 1 billion times more than our age, right? So we're nothing. We're nothing on this earth. Like our age is just, we live very short life. So why fill it with anger and anxiety and things like that when you could actually fill it with love, joy, and enjoy it?
I try and tell people it's that thing that you think is so overwhelming you at the moment is not going to matter a year down the road. It's not going to matter 10 minutes from now, maybe. You know what I mean? The problem is we let things overwhelm us. I do it too. I'm at fault for doing it myself. I let things overwhelm me all the time. When I had my car blow out, like literally 3 times, I had to replace tires all in a month. It was terrible. I felt like this shit was never going to end. I had my spiraling moment. But it doesn't
You,
matter to me now. I've moved on past it. And where I
yeah.
thought it was so impactful into my life, like this is the worst thing that's ever going to happen to me. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I got out of it.
And every time you get out of it, what do you feel? You feel like, I'm ready for the next challenge to come. Hit me up. Try me again. And this is the positive side about it. Like every time we live through a very downside moment, you train your brain, you train your wires in your brain that, look, yeah, it's going bad, but we know that we can overcome this obstacle. And everything comes to in life to move. It doesn't come to stay,
Everything
even
is,
we
yeah,
come in life just to go, so
it's
let
just,
alone incidents.
it's just a brief moment, but
Yeah.
you got to make it the best that you have it, dude. And
uh,
I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. Seriously.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy that we had a chance to chat, and you're such a great guy, and I hope we can do it again another
Dude,
time.
for sure. I'm definitely going to have you on again.
Yeah,
I love talking about this type of stuff, man, for real. I
yeah,
really want to give you here a minute at the end if you want to promote your Instagram page or any work that you have where people can find your awesome work, man. Because, like, they need to check your stuff out, dude. You have some good stuff.
yeah. So if people are really interested in knowing a bit more about my research, I haven't spoken about research or science at all in this podcast, but you can follow my Instagram page. It's small_neuroscience. That's MOL_neuroscience. Um, I'm always happy to chat with anyone that is interested in knowing more about science, neuroscience, research, brain, or anything like that. So, yeah, it's been great to be part of your podcast, man.
And, the best part is I feel energized. So I'm ready to get the day started.
Oh, absolutely, Robbie.
Well,
Great talking to you.
thanks so much for being on this episode Out of the Blank, and stay tuned for our next episode.